Our next session is how to prepare for trial participation.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ronco. And hopefully we can still keep a session for questions and answers, so not only during coffee break, but also later, depending on how time evolves. So with us, we have now Dr. Umesh Badrising and Esmee Tournaij. Dr. Badrising is a very important neurologist in the reference center for FSHD in the Netherlands. He has been very actively involved in scientific research, has lots of articles published. You were cited more than 3,500 times by other colleagues, which shows how important and I mean, not only the importance of your work, but also how productive you have been, and hopefully for many, many, many years still ahead. Thank you, Doctor, for being here on a Sunday morning.
The other speaker is Esmee Tournaij. She's a medicine student, and she's also an FSHD patient. And I don't know if she chooses this career of medicine because of her condition or not. Maybe she will tell us later in her presentation. I bet because for what she is, she will be a good doctor, I'm sure. The main reason why she's here today is that she participated in the Fulcrum trial, which unfortunately was stopped because it didn't produce significant outcomes, and she will tell us how to prepare for a clinical trial participation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thanks to the organizing committee for having us here to talk about preparation for a trial, and what we are going to focus on is trial readiness and trial fitness. We are not going to talk about centers and countries being trial ready, but we are going to look from the patient perspective to be trial ready and trial fit. And why is that important? You just saw that there are a lot of trials ongoing or coming up, and you can only participate in one trial at the same time. So we need patients to be in pole position, like in Formula One, to get started with a trial. Because the doctors are trying to get ready, and the patients have to be ready too. Because we will need more patients to participate into trials to get things going. But first, I'd like Esmee to introduce herself a little bit more.
Thank you, everybody. As I just said, my name is Esmee. I'm 22 years old and I'm from Amsterdam. I'm a second-year medical student, and 4 years ago I was diagnosed with FSHD Type 1. I was the first in my family to get diagnosed, and as you all can imagine, that was a complete shock for me. From February 2023 till September of 2024, I participated in the Fulcrum study to find a cure for FSHD.
First of all, what is a clinical trial? You just heard about clinical trials. You probably know what it's all about. But I just want you to know that the focus of a clinical trial is not only if a drug works, but also if it's safe and what the side effects are. So that's the three things you have to remember about a trial. And then there are different types of trials. There are different phases. And when you start thinking about participating into a trial, you have to think about the phase in which the trial is, because your expectations depend on it. Phase 1 is about how safe is a drug. And before phase 1 starts, there has been preclinical study. That means studies in mice and other animals. And the phase 1 study is just to check which dosage is safe and what are the side effects. And they use healthy individuals for that, and sometimes they also use patients. Then in the phase 2, you try to get an idea if the medication works in patients. And those are small groups. And then you also see some side effects. And then in phase 3, you study the same drug in a larger group. And you get to learn a lot about the effectiveness of the medication. And you compare it to something else. And that could be a placebo or a medication that is already available. In FSHD, it's almost always a placebo. And then after that, the drug hopefully works and gets approved. And then you still have to monitor the drug because some side effects are very rare. So if a side effect occurs in 1 in 1,000 people, it can even be severe. You won't get that side effect out of the trial, probably because in a trial only, for example, 130 of people participate. So, Esmee, how was your experience with the beginning of the trial?
When I first got diagnosed, I registered with the FSHD registry here in the Netherlands. Through them, I received an email about a trial that was starting here in the country. I also read about it on an Instagram account that shares updates on clinical researches. I also talked with my neurologist about it, about participating in a trial. When I first heard about the trial, I had no clue what participating in a trial would involve. But after I got the patient information folder, I started reading up on it. It sounded promising, and I was open to participate. So I registered, but I had one problem. By that time, I was just starting a 3-month backpacking trip to Europe, and there was a chance that the beginning of the trial might interfere with me being in Asia. But I saw it as such a great opportunity, so I decided to register anyway. And by the time I was back in the Netherlands, the trial had just started, so that worked out completely fine. Once I was back in the Netherlands, I talked with my neurologist about it. I consented to participate, and I started the screening. The screening was for me to see if I was a suitable candidate to join. There was about a month between my screening and the first start of the treatment. But there's still always a chance that you don't get through the screening, but that luckily didn't happen to me. On the first day of the study, I met a research nurse. A research nurse was my point of contact during the entire study. I talked to her about my hospital appointments. She accompanied me throughout the whole day, and she did most of the testing. I didn't know I'd get assigned a research nurse before I started the trial, but I was really glad I had her because she made the whole experience much more enjoyable. She even shared the best hospital gossip, and she made it such a nice experience. I always found the days quite intense. They lasted between 2 and 4 hours. I had to do blood and urine samples. I had 3 MRIs. They were a bit scary for me because I'm claustrophobic. But my radiology team and my research nurse, they guided me through the whole process. Like I just said, it was always a bit intense, especially the range of motion testing, because I had to do movement with my arms that were quite uncomfortable, but it always left me satisfied after the day.
Yes, and it's always helpful when a mother comes along and takes photos, which we can use for Congress. So, when you think about participating into a trial, how and where can you participate? How can you enroll? Well, you can find a trial. You can find a trial on social media, advertising, through a patient organization. But a better idea is to let the trial find you. And for that, use patient registries. Don't just look for a patient registry, but also register. And then we can find you. And of course, you can talk to your doctor. Also, check eligibility, because not all people are suitable for all trials. And it saves you energy to just check for your eligibility beforehand, before you sign the informed consent form, and then get sad if you get deselected. So Contact the study team if you're willing to participate, and just check which sites in your country are participating. You cannot always participate in another country because of language barriers. So after you have signed the informed consent, you are being screened for eligibility. And there are inclusion criteria and there are exclusion criteria. Inclusion criteria are things like age. For example, some trials, they want patients that are between 18 and 65. But this can be different in each trial. You have to have FSHD1, which has to be genetically tested and confirmed. Exclusion criteria could be, for example, overweight. If you're too heavy, you can't participate. Another exclusion criteria could be that, for example, you have to walk at least 200 meters, or you have to walk in a certain time. So there are different criteria. Check them beforehand if possible. Why should you participate? The reason to participate into trials are very different. Some people participate into a trial because they have access to a possible new treatment. But it could also be because they want to contribute to medical research. Some people experience better monitoring and care during a trial, and they get more control over their disease, and they learn much more about their disease during the trial. They get hope for themselves and also for the family, and some people participate to a trial because of financial compensation and support. That's not a good reason, but it happens. Before you participate, realize what is being studied. What's the goal of the study? In a phase 1 study, the goal is very different than in a phase 3 study. So don't get your hopes up when you participate in a phase 1 study that you will get the drug, for example. Inform yourself. Inform yourselves about the treatments that you will receive. Will I get the possibility to get a placebo, or will I get an active drug that might work? Or what are the chances that I get one or the other? Or are there probably different dosages that are being tested? There are different options. And how is this trial different from what you normally do when you go to your doctor? So check for that. Esmee, how was your experience during the trial?
Yeah, during the trial, I developed a lot of hope to find a cure for FSHD. The reason for me to join the trial was there might be a chance that the drug I'm taking was actually working, and I had to be one of the first to try it. But I also wanted to contribute to the whole FSHD community, my doctor, my research nurse, and of course a little bit for myself. But it also made it talking about FSHD with my friends and family a lot easier. Sometimes it's hard to talk about FSHD with your friends and family, but being in a trial gave me something positive for a change to talk about. And every 6 to 12 weeks, there was a whole day that was dedicated to FSHD. I was only diagnosed 1.5 years before that, so participating in a trial really helped me deal with this horrible disease. My mom usually came with me, and we made a little mother-daughter day out of it. After the hospital, we'd go shopping in Leiden and enjoy the free lunch in the hospital. That made the days much better to do. But that being said, there are a lot of negative sides of participating in a trial. I had to take my medication twice a day at very specific times. So that means I had to take the pill containers with me everywhere I went. But that's just a minor detail. Also, when I planned my vacation, I had to think about the trial schedule, since I needed to be in the Netherlands like 10 times a year. I also had to avoid certain foods, like a gin tonic or grapefruit, because of possible interactions with the medication. And I didn't get to post anything on social media or look for other participants in the trial. For me, that wasn't a big deal, but it's something you have to be aware of. And there's still always the chance that you might take a placebo the first year of the trial. I knew about it. I knew about that because I learned about it in medical school, that there is a chance that the first year of the study you will be taking a placebo. For me, it was all worth it because in the end, after a year, I got to take the actual drug. And there is still always the chance that you develop some side effects. For me, I had some dry legs, and I always thought that that was linked with the drug I took, but I don't think they were probably related, but that's now what I know afterwards.
So, you already heard about risk and benefits in the previous talks, and you really have to think about it before you start the trial as well. What are the potential benefits of the study phase that I'm entering? What's your chance of health improvement? And so this is an important topic. And the other side is thinking about the risks. There are short-term risks, but also long-term risk. There are known side effects when you enter the trial, so ask about them. But be aware that not all side effects might be known when you enter the trial. That's part of the trial. And inform yourselves what you should do when you are confronted with a side effect. Another thing to realize is that the duration of trials differs a lot. There are even trials now that may, in neuromuscular disorders, that may have a length of 2 years. So realize beforehand what impact that might have on your life, how much time commitment that will take, and how these visits are, what procedures you have to undergo, and also ask if there might be a follow-up study after this trial, because sometimes when the study ends, you get the real drug instead of the placebo, at least until the results of the first trial are known. So that takes time too. And inform yourselves about the schedule of the visits. Ask what tests are involved. A physical examination is often the case, of course, but you could get blood draws, imaging, muscle strength testing, different ways to do that. Sometimes a muscle biopsy is required, or you have to do a lot of questionnaires. So realize that some of these procedures might be uncomfortable, and if you are willing to undergo them. How was the end of the trial for you?
The end of my trial was really sudden. I read about it on Instagram again, and I didn't actually believe it in the first place since I saw it on Instagram, and I was in a great shock. I called my parents, and they immediately called my research nurse. She also just heard the news that the trial was being set to stop because of not enough result of the medication. At first, the first week, I was really sad. I cried a little bit about it, and I lost all hope in finding a cure for this disease ever again. But then, now, 9 months later, it's been 9 months since the trial stopped. I hope that one day I will be able to join a trial again. Yes, it costs a lot of time, but it's all worth it. It's so valuable to have the opportunity to contribute to medicine and be able of the research. So I just wanted to say, if you have the opportunity to join, I would highly recommend it to you because it's such a nice opportunity and it gives a lot of hope.
Yes, so talk to your doctor about what happens when the trial ends. Will I be informed about the study results and how? We often prepare our patients that this is a pharmaceutical study and the shareholders are informed first because of trade issues on the stock market, and then the patients and the doctors. But often this is forgotten during the trial, and then the results are there, and patients think, what's happening on the internet? And so just a reminder to repeat this during the trial, because Esmee forgot about it too.
Yes, I did.
And talk about if you will be able to access the treatment if it works, or even for the follow-up study, and how long the follow-up will be. So that was about trial readiness, but part of trial readiness is being trial fit. And that's about improving the chance to participate to a study. I just mentioned that if you're overweight, you cannot participate in some trials. So to get ready for a trial, you have to think about these things. You have to be in an optimal condition to participate into a trial. Because what the pharmaceutical industry want and what the doctors want is a patient that can be measured optimally when you measure outcome measures. If a patient has too much pain and cannot move his arm because of the pain, you cannot measure the motion of the range of motion perfectly. So you need to treat the pain before you enter the study. So optimal ability to comply to clinical trial demands, that's the issue. And you have already heard about this in this Congress, I think. What we're trying to do is looking for a cure for muscle weakness, but there are more aspects to FSHD that can be treated, and like pain, fatigue, sleep disturbances, physical inactivity, social participation, and also additional disorders that come along with the FSHD. And well, I think you all know about this trial that was done in Nijmegen, comparing exercise versus behavioral therapy, and it showed that it worked for both. Both worked for a lot of things, not only for improving fatigue, but also sleep quality was improved, and people participated more, and they had less physical inactivity. So these are all connected to each other, and you don't have to attack them one by one. You can sometimes attack multiple systems at once. Why do we want to get trial fit? If you look at healthy individuals and during their life, you will see that your muscle mass and your muscle strength increases during life. And when you are around 30, you're at your max, and then if you try to run the 100 meters, you won't get as fast. After that, you will decline a bit, and well, there's a big variation between people. So that's what you see at the end of the figure, at the right side, the variation where you can end up. In FSH, you could start at a lower muscle mass or later on, and everything goes faster. But if you have lifestyle changes, you could adapt that. And you can end up a little bit higher in the scheme, and that delays the time, your disability threshold. So when you need a wheelchair or when you need a cane to walk, for example. So this is why it's important to get trial fit also. We don't want you to get trial fit for a trial, we want you to get fit in general, because that's the best thing for FSH. So, inform yourself about what will happen during a trial. Take your time to think through your chances of eligibility, the benefits and risks, the burden of participation, the goal and phase of the study. Be ready to participate and get trial fit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we can take a couple of questions, and eventually, if they go fast and Dr. Ronco is still around, maybe we can take 2 more questions for them.
Don't forget, we have to invite Sheila.
Please, Joanna. Not yet. Microphone.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Oh, it
please.
starts. Okay, perfect. I have 3 questions, but I will start from the most important one for me, and then we will see if anybody else will take over. So the biggest question for me was about the results. Like, were you being informed upon going to that place, like, let's say, once a month or those 6-8 weeks, right? After having different blood tests, etc., about your current results? If no, because it doesn't happen, then the follow-up question would be, if you were getting very bad results, was there like some confirmation that they would stop giving it to you because, for instance, of toxicity or something like that? Or would they carry on because you're in the trial?
During the study, I didn't get any results from a neurologist or the fulcrum. So during the trial, I had no idea how it was going. So I had no clue if it was going good or it was going bad. So the stop, that was really sudden, because I was not expecting it to be in September. I thought in December they would be publishing the results. So I don't know if that answers your question.
That's normal during a trial, because even the doctors often don't know what the results are, but we just send them through the machines to another center and they are analyzed there at the end of the trial.
Yeah.
So if it's like going really bad, yeah?
I just want to answer the serious adverse. You may want to answer the serious. Why don't you answer the serious adverse event questions? What happens? Do they stop or do they continue the treatment? Those kinds of things.
So if there is a serious side effect, we know it because we get blood results, so we see those. So, and if the patient complains about the side effect, we look at it. So yes, we can attack the side effects.
Okay, cool, thank you. So the second one was like, you learned from Instagram that it stopped?
Yeah.
Is it normal or was it just like a random situation, mistake, yeah?
I don't know, actually. I think it's normal that it's not published. How do you say it? I think it's normal that it's published all in once, so I don't get a phone call and then I can tell the contributors about it. I don't think it's normal to read it on Instagram, but yeah, it happens. I think it's normal to hear it through the hospital, but they just heard it as well.
Normally, when the trial is done, people were in a follow-up trial, and the analysis was being done from the first trial, and there was a database lock, they called it, and then they start analyzing everything. And then the trial results were announced, but we didn't know that the trial results were going to be announced that fast. So it was a surprise for everyone, yeah.
And yeah?
Who from companies is here? There's someone from Dyne. I met with Avidity yesterday, and this is the message I bring across all the time. Because we will be the doctor of this patient also for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And we would like to keep a very good relationship with the doctor. So it's very important for the PIs, who are usually also the treating clinicians, to be informed at least 2 hours before. Emma wants to say something about it, and then it comes back to you.
That's a great point. And then from the patient advocacy groups in the room, know that even though we had no losmapimod study sites in Australia, I think we received over 70 queries from patients who were very panicked, either in Australia or overseas, about the way that announcement happened. And it's not about laying blame at any one organisation, but I would love to see a true partnership between the doctors, the patient advocacy groups and industry to make sure that we're supporting our patients and truly understanding the impacts that announcements, either good or bad, can have throughout our community. And so I would love to see that, true partnership being adopted, and we learn from things that have happened in the past.
And even if a company would say, well, be aware, PI, we will have a message tomorrow, watch your email box, be ready to distribute it, that helps. You don't even have to say what is in there. I'll bring it back to you in a minute.
We have time for 2 more questions, one over there and the other one there, please.
Is it okay
Thank you.
to go to them in the break? Yeah. She also has a question.
Does it work now? Yeah. I would like to stress and address the doctors that I think it's important that at the end of the trial, especially after it has failed, there should be some farewell. I took part in Germany in the losmapimod trial, and I also got it via the press release and afterwards a phone call. But unfortunately, the study coordinator did not say goodbye, and we were just examined at the end. And of course, many of the patients or participants were probably disappointed or maybe even angry because of all the hope that has been in vain and all the effort. And I think that's, not unimportant to have these soft skills.
Yes, thank you for making that point. I think it's very important to have a close, visiting to close the trial with every participant and to inform the participant how we will go further and what the follow-up will be, even if it's outside the trial. Yes, good point. And I hope it changes in your country.
I'm briefer, it's not a question, a comment. I also took part in the study, and I really liked I think it's a very informative presentation for people who have not taken part. And my experience was another positive one, all those contacts with a research team. I found it highly supportive. I found it a super effective biofeedback, a lot of resonance, and it really educated me a lot on the disease. I also liked Lucien's debriefing on what went wrong. So I actually became a fan of research. And I think in a psychological sense, it really added to my self-efficacy. And I think this is a great benefit, even if there is no treatment. And one wish to the researchers in future, I think this MRI data, I think is real gold. And I would love to get a little bit more insight as a patient. And I know it's difficult, but please do something with it, because I also could imagine that it would be super interesting to get some insights from that.
Thank you very much for this addition.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Dr. Badrising. Please don't leave the room yet. I would invite Sheila to come on to stage.
Good. Thank you, Ricardo. And I want to talk about someone who's been a real friend and support to the FSHD community. She started her career as a scientific journalist, and we know she's been using those skills. We've heard about it today on the care guidelines. So, June, I hope you're here. We'd like to ask you to come on stage. We know that the FSH Society will give you some kind of great send-off. We know you're moving on to other things, but this is really on behalf of the whole of the FSH community worldwide, to say thank you so much for everything you've done to bring us together, to provide support, and to wish you all the best in your future endeavours. So, June, there you go. I hope Lowry has been very diligent in taking this around everyone in the room. So I hope everyone who's here has had a chance to sign it and send their farewell wishes, and to wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody in this community. It's been a true honor and a privilege to serve you these past 13 years. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me to have. It is really, and it's because of the kindness and generosity and the true team spirit in this community of all working together towards bettering, conditions and giving hope to everybody. So I want to thank you, all of you.
If you want to have a coffee or to go to the toilets, maybe, but be sure you'll back before 11, please.